for the moment. Although if anything is not clear, just unmute yourself and come and ask me. All right, now, so we are going to be coming down onto our mats, and it would be super helpful if you had a bit of wall space. So the back of a door would do. If you don't have wall space, you could use a sofa. Yeah, a sofa would do. So I also love having a bolster for this posture and pelvic core restore practice. A couple of firm pillows would be fine, or if you've got a yoga brick, use that and just put a blanket on top of it. So let's just, Alison just brought to my attention the importance of breathing. So before we come down onto the ground, I'm going to get you just to sit comfortably. It doesn't matter how you sit. I'm sitting kind of in what's called Virasana. So I'm straddling my bolster, just pulling calf muscles out. It's a nice stretch for the top of your feet. But if this isn't comfortable, just sit cross-legged and make sure you have enough height underneath your sitting bones, so the bones underneath the fleshy bits of your bottom, so that your pelvis can be on a very slight anterior tilt. We don't want to be slumping like so, rounding through the lower back. So I'm going to get you just to wriggle from side to side, feel your sitting bones, rock back and forward for a moment so you can locate your pubic bone and your tailbone, and then come into a position where you can imagine the diamond shape of your pelvic floor is nicely spread out and is kind of sitting relatively evenly on your prop. Tailbone, you can feel it. The bottom of your spine where your tailbone is, it's slightly lifted up. It's not tucking underneath you. And then roll a shoulder, roll the other shoulder. Let's just give ourselves a moment to arrive on our mats. So close your eyes, take your mind's eye down into that pelvic floor, and then take a nice deep breath in. And as you breathe in, pull your mind's eye right up your spine, right up through to the crown of your head and beyond, like the center of a fountain. And then as you exhale, feel that breath, that mind's eye just flowing down, cross your head, down through your shoulders, down through your body. Inhaling again, slow, deep breath in, right up through the crown of your head. And then as you exhale, feel your jaw releasing, shoulders releasing, whole body starting to relax. And over this next minute or so, slowing your breath down, drawing your chin back in slightly to create a slight constriction on the back of your throat. See if you can breathe in and out of your nostrils. If that's not possible, in through your nostrils, out through a softly opened mouth. Every time you exhale, imagine little screws on the edge of your jaw are unwinding. So your lower jaw starts to drop away from your upper jaw. We want to look kind of gormless when we're practicing yoga. So really soft jaw, heavy tongue. Using the mind's eye to start to create space in the body as you lift right up through your spine. Feel the vertebrae moving away from each other, creating that space. As you exhale, just noticing where you are holding tension today. And on that exhale, see if you can swirl the breath around that area and soften just a little bit. See if you can feel any tension that often is emotion that is stuck. See if you can feel it just draining down out of the body, down through the pelvis and down into the ground. And these next couple of breaths, imagine on the inhale that you are breathing up all the rushing and all the doing, all the stuff from last year. And as you exhale, you are simply moving into this moment in time, moving into being. Inhaling, gathering up the rushing and the doing, exhaling, moving into simply being. Noticing the breath now on the back of your lungs and underneath your armpits. So visualizing the ribs flaring outwards as you breathe in. Try to keep your shoulders relaxed so they don't move up. And as you exhale, feel the base of the ribcage slightly drawing in. A little bit of an ocean-like sound to your breath. The Ujjayi breath in yoga is what kind of binds the body and the mind and brings us into that state of stillness. Good, and then slowly opening the eyes, take your fingers out to the side, turn the palms, take a deep breath in, lift your fingers up, and then let it all go. Fantastic. So we're going to come down onto our backs. I'm going to get you to just take your bolster or your pillow or your brick and place it underneath your pelvis. So if you need to prop your head as well, if you're feeling a bit congested, please do so. We just want to release a little bit of tension from the pelvic area. And also I'm going to teach you a little trick to get into your vagus nerve. So the vagus nerve is like our super highway into that parasympathetic nervous system. So try interlacing your fingers and placing your fingers behind your head. If this is not comfortable for your elbows, for your shoulders and your elbows, then you can prop your elbows and your shoulders up with some extra pillows or folded towels. You could even just take the shoulder that's not so comfortable down, take the hand onto your belly. But while you're here, I'm going to get you to keep your head straight, looking straight up towards the ceiling, and then just move your eyeballs. Move your eyeballs up and then down, up and then down, and then over to the left and over to the right, and to the left and to the right. And then big circles around, like you're going around the clock face with your eyeballs, one direction and then the other. And then blink really rapidly. Blink, 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 and open your eyes. And then look over to the right-hand side to about 3 o'clock. So this is stimulating our parasympathetic nervous system when we look over to the right side. And try and breathe slowly and deeply and emphasize your exhalation. So we want to make the exhalation longer than the inhalation while we're looking over to that right side with the eyeballs. And hopefully you're going to just start to feel yourself relaxing, becoming softer, maybe even yawning, maybe a bit of gurgling in tummy. As we relax, the digestive system starts to operate better. So just staying here for the next 30 seconds or so, breathing slowly, deeply, emphasizing the exhalation. See if you can focus the breath going underneath your armpits, flaring the ribs out to the sides, creating that lovely sound to the breath. Ocean-like sound, or a very soft Darth Vader sound. Good, and then slowly bring your eyes back. So it's just a little trick. Good one to teach the kids, good one to do if you can't sleep at night. Alrighty, take your hands down onto your belly. We're going to start to switch on pelvic floor muscles, but first of all, just let them relax, let them open up and soften. The psoas muscles that go from the inner thighs to the lower back, they tend to release when we're in this kind of position. Gravity just helps them to let go. So I'm going to get you to focus here in the hip flexor area and around the pelvic floor area. And as you breathe, imagine this whole area is like a beach ball. And as you breathe, you're expanding your breath into your lower belly, your pelvic floor, your hips, your bum area. And the psoas muscles are just softening on that exhalation. So there's a little bit of a pulse in and out, but your breath is focused in the lower part of your body, softening, releasing. If it feels nice to stretch your legs out, do that. If it feels nice to take your feet together and knees out, do that. This is a stronger lengthening stretch here. But just taking some conscious breaths out here, releasing breaths. Lower jaw releasing, really important because the lower jaw and the pelvic floor are deeply fascially connected. So if we can soften our cheeks and our jaw, we can consciously start to release tension from this area here. All these little clever tricks, very useful. Alrighty, so if you know that tension is a bit of a problem right now, I want you to stay with this. Don't do the next bit. If you want to switch on pelvic floor muscles now, take your knees back on top of your feet. And I'm going to get you to imagine that you've got a tampon and that's dropped down too low. And on your exhalation, do this with your lips, purse your lips and breathe out like this. And as you breathe out, gather the pelvic muscles around that tampon and see if you can pull it a bit higher through the vaginal muscles. And then imagine that contraction, that lift is going up towards your tummy button. And then imagine that your corset muscles are just tightening a little bit around your spine. So it's an exhalation to zip up. And then as you inhale, relax back, soft belly, soft pelvic floor, soft hips. So exhaling, zipping upwards, right up towards the ribs, and then exhaling down. But from the pelvic floor muscles. It kind of almost feels like you're stopping yourself, weeing and passing wind at the same time. If you're finding that just focusing on the center doesn't work, then focus on around the anus and around the urethra. To lift and then release. And again, to lift and release. Beautiful. So we just wanted to wake those guys up. Take your feet up towards the ceiling now. We want to lengthen the back of our legs. Push the heels away, toes towards you. Rub the back of your legs. So rub into those hamstrings and press the back of your pelvis into your prop. So we don't want to be all tucking like this. We want to press the back of the pelvis backwards. So if you had a tail, the tail would be going straight back through your prop down into the ground. Push up through the heels to increase the stretch. And then turn your toes outwards and your heels together. So we go right down the outside of the legs with a nervy stretch. That sciatic nerve, really waking it up. And then back, toes, over eyes. Beautiful. Bend your knees and then take big circles with those knees. So we start to mobilize the rotator muscles around those hip joints. Keep breathing, smooth, long, Ujjayi breaths. That's that slight constriction on the back of the throat. A little bit of an ocean-like sound to your breath. One direction and then the other direction. Good. Just start to mobilize this area. Take one ankle, put it on top of the other knee. Bring that other knee in. So this is my left leg bent, right knee out to the side. Take a deep breath in and then sigh the breath out like this. And as you make that low vibrational sound, sighing out, see if you can pull the knee a little bit closer in. So use your exhalation to go slightly deeper into your stretches. And then swap sides, ankle on top of knee, drawing that knee in, this knee slightly going out, stretch right here in the glutes. Breathing in. So you know we sigh when we are feeling stressed or when we're feeling overwhelmed. It's nature's way of just letting go of stress. So make it an exaggerated sigh out. Beautiful. Take your toes together, knees out to the side. Grab hold of your ankles or your shins and mobilize those feet. So massage those ankles around. Pressing down gently with your forearms into your inner thighs. So you start to open up those adductor muscles, the inner thigh muscles that run right into the pelvic floor. One direction and then the other direction. Nice massaging action here. Beautiful. Alrighty, I'm going to get you to press your heels out now. So a nice big V shape. If it's uncomfortable having your bottom propped, take the prop away now. If you're happy with it, then we'll keep it. So rub the inside of your legs, press out through your heels, press the back of your bum into your prop. And then take the hands on the outside of your knees. And as you exhale, pelvic floor zips up towards those ribs and your feet come together. So this is the harder version, exhaling, core switching on. We can do a similar thing with knees bent, yeah, so like that. And give your knees as much help as they need with your hands. So you can make this a lot easier or a lot harder depending on how much help you give your hands. And we want to be going, breathing out, breathing out. The reason we're breathing out is because the diaphragm is pressing, the lung diaphragm is pressing the breath out of us. At the same time, this is synergistically getting the pelvic floor diaphragm to lift upwards, and that activates our deep transverse abdominal muscles. So now this is also not so good for you today. Toes on the ground, same thing, toes on the ground, knees together. This works kind of a bit better when you don't have the prop. Yeah, so one of these versions. Beautiful. And then feet up towards the ceiling, knees down towards your armpits. Nice wide knees. The inner thighs are getting a good stretch here. Baby pose. Grab hold of your calf muscles, your ankles maybe. If you can reach, fingertips right into the arches of the feet, and then just kind of pull your feet wide-ish. This is the most ungainly pose in yoga, but it's fabulous for releasing pelvic tension. Maybe give yourself a little rock from side to side. Nice deep breath in. Sigh the breath out. That's the way. Alrighty, starting to do some work now. Let's take the feet onto the bolster. So just slide your bolster down. If you don't have a bolster, don't worry, just put your feet on the ground. Wide feet, arms out to the side. Drop the knees from side to side. As you drop down, press the top knee down in particular. So we're going into the sartorius muscle here, the longest muscle in the body, from the inside of the knee right up through the thigh into the pelvis. Exhaling down. Exhaling down. Beautiful. That's it. So just kick your prop out of the way and have your feet directly underneath your knees. I'm going to get you to switch on the core again. But first of all, make sure that you're a neutral pelvis. So we want to take the middle fingers onto the top of our hip bones and our thumbs onto the base of our rib cage. So the bottom ribs, those floating ribs, and make sure that they're pretty even. So we don't want to be all tucked with hip bones up. We don't want to be flaring with the ribs flaring up. If we are flaring, put a prop underneath your head and your shoulders so you come more on a slope, and that'll let your ribs drop down towards your spine. So prop yourself however you need to, knees directly on top of feet. Start off just exhaling again, just like we did with our bottom on the prop. Gather pelvic floor muscles and zip upwards and feel your corset drawing in, and then let it all go again. Switching on, let it all go on the inhale. Zipping up, it's like a plunger. If you imagine a plunger, phalanges open, it's spread out, exhale, vacuuming upwards, and inhale to release. And again, up and down. Now, I'm going to get you to start switching on bum muscles, and we're going to lubricate and open up the spine a little bit as well. So start to push your feet into the ground, coming up. See if you can come up on an exhale. So I know it's counterintuitive, but see if you can go as you come up, and then inhale as you come down. The reason being is on the exhalation, when we do that exhale like that, we are starting to switch on core muscles. So it just gives us stability around the pelvis. And then we're adding in, obviously, glutes switching on as we peel up and down. And we're massaging the spine. Good. Come up and then just pause here for a moment. Make sure your knees are directly on top of your heels. So you don't have your feet out here or too close in. Just comfortable on top of the feet, heels here. And then push your feet into the ground. So imagine you have half oranges under your feet and you're trying to squeeze the juice out of the oranges. So hopefully you can feel your bum going, oh yeah, switching on. put your hands on your bottom and just feel if both gluteal muscles are switching on evenly. Okay, so these are the options. You're either going to be carrying on, rolling down, squeezing the oranges to come back up, rolling down, squeezing the oranges to come back up, or heel toe your feet together. This is a harder version. Press all the weight down through your left foot. So you squeeze that orange and stick your right foot out in front of you. You can massage your ankle here. Keep squeezing that orange, but keep working here. If you're finding your pelvis becomes uneven, drop down and do the other version. Take your foot up towards the ceiling, massage the ankle around here. And then slowly take that foot down, press all the way into that right foot, squeeze that right orange, stick your foot out in front of you, massage the foot. You can also just take the toe off. If that's a little bit easier, take the toe off instead. Exhaling up towards the ceiling. Make sure these guys stay high, even. So this is quite tough. We might need to do a bit more building up of glutes before this is possible. Feet down and slowly, slowly, slowly roll the vertebra down onto the ground. Just let your back settle for a moment. Take a nice deep breath in, underneath the ribs, exhaling. Take your knees up. And with your knees together this time, just circle around the back of the pelvis, one direction and then the other. Very good. All right, feet back down again. I said, and then take them a bit wider on your mat. So almost as wide as your mat. Don't let your toes go out to the sides though, like so. The toes are still pretty much going forward. So now we're combining a few things together. You exhale as you push the floor away and you peel yourself up. And then you squeeze your knees and your thighs together. And then you release them and you roll back down again. So you squeeze up, squeeze your knees, and then roll that back down again, knees released. Drawing yourself up, squeeze your knees, release your knees, roll back down, relax. Exhaling, coming up, squeeze your knees, release your knees, roll back down, relax. If you've got that down pat and you've got enough breath, try squeezing your knees a couple of times before you roll down and relax. So that might look like exhaling, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze the knees, release the knees, roll back down, calm, relax. Coming up again, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze the knees, release the knees, roll back down, soften. And again, up, squeeze, squeeze, squeeze the knees, rolling back down, relaxing. Take the knees in towards your chest, stick your feet up towards the ceiling, ankles, shins, maybe fingers on the arches of the feet, back into baby pose, rocking across your spine, pulling one foot and then the other. So this is a really nice way just to massage into the multifidi muscles around your spine, part of your core system, and then also get that deep stretch and release into the adductors, the inner thighs, into your core muscles, pelvic floor releasing, sitting bones nice and wide. Very good. Alrighty. That's the way. Okay. Knees up for a moment. Drop the knees to one side, twisting the spine, hand on top of the knee. Now, if your knees don't easily come down to the ground, either take your feet further away from you or grab one of your props, maybe a brick, and just place it underneath the knees. Looking to the other side. We just want to start to release things now. Take a nice deep breath in. Soften the breath. Good. And another one. And then split your knees up and over to the other side, looking over the opposite shoulder. Great for the digestion, great for just waking up the central nervous system. Spines love a twist. Okay, so this is taking it into the thoracic spine. We're going to do a bit more here. So I'm going to get you to roll over to the side and put something underneath your head. So I'm using my brick. You might use your bolster or a pillow or a rolled up blanket, but we want to start to mobilize this area here and into the shoulders. So pelvis and shoulder area tend to be our tension spots. So in the fetal position, Bottom arm straight out, top fingers on your forehead, and then drop the elbow down. And this is great for breathing as well. So as we inhale, we take the elbow back behind us. We stretch these chest muscles. Elbow drops as far as it can down towards the ground. And then exhaling fully. As you inhale, feel that stretch through those pec muscles, the chest muscles. And use the action to increase the capacity of your lungs. So visualize the breath going into this area underneath the armpits, into the back of the lungs, into the front of the lungs. And every time you go back, see if you can drop back even a millimeter further. Long, smooth breath in, hold the top of the breath, exhaling out. So this is an area that many of us get very tight without even realizing it. And yet we know that thoracic mobility is directly associated with heart health. So it's one of those things that as we get older, we simply cannot let this upper body area become too stiff. It really does directly affect the stiffness of our arteries. So doing this kind of movement is really, really important. Okay, one more breath in. Now hold your elbow behind you. Turn your head forward to face me. Smile. And just hold it here. Breathe deeply into this area. Wonderful. And then take the hand down and just roll that shoulder. I'm going to get you to take this top knee up and press it up towards the ceiling. If you have a strap nearby, so I didn't tell you to get a strap, but if you have a strap nearby, you could place it around your foot so you can just hold on to the foot. Otherwise, just grab hold of your leg, wherever it is, maybe your toe if you can reach that. And then you want to pull your femur, your thigh bone, back into your pelvis as you press your heel away. So relax your shoulders, relax your jaw, pull your femur down as you press out through the heel. Like I said, it doesn't matter where you're holding your leg. I'm probably a bit more stretchy, but we're just looking for a line of energy to run up and down the inside of the leg here. Beautiful. Okay, and then flipping to the other side. So roll yourself over into the fetal position, fingertips on your forehead, elbow down. Inhaling, elbow back, so you can feel a real squeeze here and an opening in your chest. Exhaling down. Inhaling, just noticing what's going on in your spine as you do this movement, and see if you can make it quite meditative. Maybe closing the eyes and sending the breath into that shoulder area, into your upper back. So all of this mobility directly affects our posture, which of course affects our pelvic floor function. So it's all part of the bigger picture. Inhaling, hold your elbow back this time. Turn the head to face forward. Just hold the stretch. If it feels good for you, you could even unfurl your arms. So that puts even more gravity weight into the stretch here. And then take the hand down, just roll that shoulder and lift your knee up and then press the heel away. Again, if you've got a strap, you can put it around the ball of the foot just to pull the ball of the foot down, heel pressing away, femur pulling back into the pelvis. So we don't want to be kind of rolling over. We want to try to create this lovely line of energy up through the hamstrings and down into the inner thigh area. I'm wearing my splatty pants today because I was noticing that my black leggings weren't showing up so well. So these are my splatty pants. Beautiful. And then just rolling onto your tummy. Roll onto your tummy. We're going to wake up our upper back muscles now. We've given them a bit of a stretch. Hands in towards your shoulders, elbows in like you're a cricket. So we don't want elbows all out here. We want to squeeze them into the sides of the body, right towards the ribs. Tops of the feet press into the ground. Knees a little bit active. So pull your knees a little bit up off the ground, but don't let your bum squeeze too much at this point. Now just take some deep breaths As you breathe in, lift the chest. As you breathe out, deflate down again. So we want to use the breath to get the back muscles operating. Elbows tight in. Well done, guys. And it doesn't matter, even if you come up a tiny bit, just even a tiny bit, that's good. What we don't want at this stage is to be going push, push with our hands. That just goes straight into the lumbar spine. I'm looking for you to get the multifidi muscles. This is part of your core system, to almost vacuum pack in towards your spine and create that extension to lift you up off the ground. Breathing in deeply, exhaling, breathing in deeply, exhaling down. Good. Now, I'm going to get you to roll your shoulders back. This time we do use the bum muscles, fingertips towards your toes. As you inhale, lift your toes and your fingers up, pull them back, crown of the head rocketing forward. Squeeze the back of your arms upwards so you can feel the upper back muscles activating as well. Hold, come down as soon as you need to, but if you can, keep holding, breathing, 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 and then collapsing, and toes in, heels out, and just kind of rock from side to side like you're a jellyfish. Let every bit of your body become nice and relaxed. And then take your hands underneath your forehead. So just bend your elbows, hands under forehead, chin tucking in, shoulders relaxing. Wiggle wobble the bottom from side to side. Now I'm going to get you to focus on the urethra. So where you do a wee, focus on that front part of your pelvic floor. So for many women, this is harder to activate. We have about 30% of our pelvic floor muscles at the front, about 70% at the back. So we've got our toes in and our heels out. We disengage the glutes, we disengage the inner thigh muscles that often switch on instead of the pelvic floor muscles. And I'm going to get you to imagine it's like a hose pipe. And as you exhale, you do your breath out. Squeeze to shut the hose pipe and zip upwards towards your tummy button and then release down. So squeeze and lift, release and open. Squeeze and lift, release and open. So you might find your tummy button kind of lifts up off the ground a little bit, which is great. We want that. But we want it to happen a millisecond after the pelvic floor has lifted up. So not just tummy, pelvic floor first. Round the urethra, stopping yourself weeing, releasing down. Just notice how much your bum wants to get in on the action. So try not to let bum clench and squeeze. Instead, just that action around the urethra, squeezing the sphincter of the urethra, lifting up, releasing down. A couple more of these. Squeeze and lift, release down. Very good. Take your hands under your shoulders. Take yourself back into extended child. Fingertips on your mat, wrists off the mat. Lengthen all the way down. Now, if you have prolapse, if you're feeling heavy through the pelvic floor today, lift your sitting bones a little bit. Yeah, so you're not dropping the sitting bones right down. You're lifted a little bit, and then keep that length here. Shoulders roll away from your ears so that your armpits are facing the ground. And then you stretch the back. Stretch fingertips to sitting bones, lengthen, and you want to breathe into the back of your lungs, the lower lobes of the back of your lungs. Nice, full, smooth breath. Good. And then come up a little bit. This time we are going to drape. So stick your tail, imagine you've got a lovely big tail, stick your tail up towards the ceiling and then send your chest downwards, down, down, down. Now either fold your forearms, chin tucking in or turning your head to the side, or if it feels okay on your shoulders, it's quite strong, hands out like so. So if this feels too much, bend the elbows, otherwise arms out as well, chin tucking in. Every time you exhale, see if you can drape your chest down a little bit more. We're looking for a squeezy stretch right here, and it's also a really wonderful release through the pelvic floor muscles. Alrighty, who is ready to switch things on a bit more? Come onto your forearms like so, shoulders away from your ears, knees together, And I'm going to get you to zip up. So exhale, and as you exhale, bring your pelvic floor and your lower belly up towards your ribs. Put all your weight into your left knee. Stick your right foot up towards the ceiling. I know some of you are groaning audibly right now. You know what's coming. Try not to let your knee drop down. So you want to have your knee parallel to your pelvis. Now squeeze that right glute and kick your heel up towards the ceiling. We want to create stability through the pelvis. So keep your hip bones, the front of your pelvis, facing the ground evenly. And then just kick that heel up. I'm sure your glute is now going, don't like this. Don't like this. Keep going. Few more. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Stick your foot out behind you. Give your foot a shake. Shake, shake, shake your silly out. And then foot towards your bottom again. Take your knee out to the side. Come up onto your right hand here. And big circles forward. Try to keep your toe tucked in towards your bottom. So you're not doing this kind of crazy nonsense. Do big circles with your knees. You can feel those rotator muscles around the hip joint mobilizing. Nice release on that glute. And then hooray, we've got the other side to do. So back down onto forearms, zipping up. Take the foot up towards the ceiling, shoulders away from the ears. So if you're finding you're doing this, pull those shoulders back. Squeeze the left side now. Make sure you are slightly lifted here. You got the pelvis nice and even. Squeeze, squeeze, squeeze. You're having to donkey kick the ceiling away, squeezing that left glute. Noticing, does one side operate better than the other? It's very, very common to have asymmetry through the glutes. And it's also very common to have, it's called dead butt syndrome. That's what it's called, dead butt syndrome, when the glute muscles just are not waking up at all. Okay, foot out, give them a shake. And if that's you, you just need to do more of this basically. Use your exhalation and take your toe in, come up onto that left side, big circles forward, big circles forward. That's the way. Beautiful. Now take yourself onto your fists. So fists directly underneath shoulders and create a tabletop with your back. Imagine you have a rod going from the crown of your head, right down through your neck, through your spine, and then right up through your tail and beyond. So if you were a pointer dog, yeah, one of those pointer dogs, your tail will be sticking straight out, looking at the ground on your fists. Now slightly bend your elbows to start off with. I'm going to get you to exhale and zip upwards, and then tuck your toes. Keep breathing out like this. And as you do so, push the mat away with your fists and see if you can suck your knees a tiny bit off the mat. So just literally a millimeter. So you're not up here, you're just a tiny bit off the mat. You're zipping up from pelvic floor through to lower belly, right up to your ribs, corsetory muscles, sucking in towards your spine. You can while away the time by bringing your knees together. Beautiful, drop down. Elbows wide on your mat. Hands together like you're praying. Thank goodness she has finished doing that. Exhale, drop your chest down towards the ground. Shoulders away from ears. Nice deep breath in. Exhaling out to release. Ah, that's it. Breathe into the back of your lungs. Side out. Ah. One more. Ah, very good. Stretch your fingertips out in front of you. Extended child pose. Take a nice deep breath in to your armpits. Feel your armpits spreading. All right, slowly rolling up again. This time onto your knees. So if your knees are on a harder surface, grab a blanket or something to put underneath your knees. And I'm going to get you to tuck your toes and roll one shoulder back and then the other shoulder back, and take the heels of your hands on the top of your pelvis like that. So your fingers are heading down, heels of your hands on the top of your pelvis, elbows towards each other. Now press your knees down into the ground and imagine you have a string from your pubic bone. And the string is very gently being pulled up towards the ceiling. Very, very gently being pulled up towards the ceiling, so that you might find that you just stretch your spine upwards. You might find you come into a tiny back bend, elbows drawn towards each other, and take your breath up through your heart center and out to your shoulders. You take little sippy breaths. Little sippy breaths. Good. If it feels comfortable, if you're used to doing camel, then you can take your fingertips down onto your heels. Not necessary though, but you could come into a back bend if that feels good for you. Whatever version you're in, come back to here, and then imagine you have a string from your crown, the crown of your head, and that's being pulled up towards the ceiling. So pull upwards, lengthen the spine, chin draws in, and then as you drop down onto your knees, just draw the base of the rib cage in. So we've just created perfect alignment through from the head, ears, shoulders, down through ribs and down into the pelvis. So now deep core muscles are switched on naturally when we're in this good alignment. Take your hands into your heart center, into Anjali Mudra, elbows up, and press your hands together a little bit so you can feel your upper back muscles activating. And I'm going to get you to use your gluteal muscles, your bum muscles, to drive you up. So on an inhalation, squeeze glutes, glide up, elbows out. So we stretch the chest muscles and the upper back muscles activate, and then slowly come back down again. So I'll just face you for a moment so you can see what I'm doing. Squeeze and glide, and then come back down. So if your elbows are here, you're not really going to be getting much action through those pectoral muscles. Here we want to stretch, and we want to create a bit of activation through the rhomboids, the muscles between the shoulders. So one more of those. And then this time, take your hands up towards the ceiling, stretching up and then down. And again, up and then down, driving up through those glutes, up. This time, take the hands behind you, stretch all the way out, extended child pose. Come up onto hands and knees, lift your tail, tuck your tail, lift your tail on the inhale, tuck your tail on the exhale. So a bit of cat and cow, mobilizing the pelvis. And this time when you take your tail behind you, swirl it around. Give it a big swirl. Imagine you've got this tail and you're showing it off. One direction and then the other direction. Elbows a little bit soft here. Big swirl. Beautiful. Lift your tail behind you. Tuck your toes. Imagine somebody's got your tail and they are pulling it back and up. So on an exhalation, breathing out, lift your sitting bones as high as they will go. Keep your knees bent. Keep up on your toes. Focus on rolling your shoulders away from your ears so that your armpits are facing the ground. Spread your hands out wide, so fingers nice and wide. Keep lifting and then start to press one heel at a time down onto your mat. So we massage into those calves, into the Achilles. Drop the knees across the midline of the body. Now, if you need to, just lift your head. If you're feeling snotty or congested, lift your head up. If not, give your head a shake and go, oh. Very good. Beautiful. Drop down onto your knees for a moment. Take one foot forward, other foot down on the ground. We're just going to open psoas and quads so it looks like you're proposing. Tuck your tail and then release it behind you. So do a couple of those cat and cows and just notice how when we do that direction, people are going forward, tail tucked, we can feel the quads starting to stretch. It's because we've got our knee locked into the ground. So I'm going to get you to stay here with that kind of tucking sensation, stretching into these quads. Hand on the other side of the knee, lengthen the fingertips up. So knee down, fingers up, and then slight bend over to the other side of the mat. So I'm going to face you for a second so you can see this whole side of the body is lengthening. Try not to do this. Try to keep space between your shoulder and your ear. I always imagine I have weights at the base of my shoulder blades. So little like fishing weights, and they're just dropping the shoulder down And then a little tilt to the side, breathing deeply, and then releasing it. And then walk your feet slightly forward and just come into a lunge here, shoulders away from your ears. Beautiful, hands on either side of that front foot, tuck your back toes, downward facing dog again, just for a moment. Give it a little bit of a twist through the pelvis, knees dropping across the midline of the body. Releasing, deep breath in, sigh the breath out. And then dropping down onto your knees again, this time right foot forward, top of the back foot pressing into your mat. Pull your pubic bone forward, tail under, release. So a couple of these sort of cat and cow movements through the pelvis. And then keep the tuck, hand on the outside of the knee, fingers stretching up towards the ceiling, little tilt over to the side. This is strong. For a lot of people, one side feels really congested compared to the other. So it's also an information gathering exercise where you're using your breath and you are not putting any story to what you are finding. You just go, it's interesting. Interesting. Now see if I can breathe and then stretch a bit more into that side. Where do I need to pull back? Oh, this side feels like I could go a little bit more, and that kind of thing. Yeah? So we're just working with what is presenting today, being very mindful, very gentle. Slowly coming down. Inch those toes forward for a lunge. Press down through that back foot. You'll notice that the hip flexors open more. And then slowly coming down. Slide that back foot forward, coming into a wide foot frog squat. So head and heart are about the same height. Press gently out with elbows, pushing knees away. So we open those inner thigh muscles again. If you are further up, you push with the outside of your hands or your forearms. Good. And then looking up, we're just going to push the floor away, slowly come up, and then hands down. Take yourself into a squatting position. So we want to have our feet directly going forward, middle toes directly going forward. Imagine you've got those half oranges under your feet, and you want to squash the feet down into those oranges. Hands out in front of you. Now, your hip flexors need to push backwards. So the action is that, rather than just bending over. That, so tail goes back behind you, coming down into a chair pose or a zigzag shape. Now, before we do our squats, try taking your hands behind you and come up onto your toes for balance. Squeeze the little fingers up so it feels a little bit like Shalabhasana, that lotus pose we did on the ground, or that Superman pose. So you're flying forward into the air ahead, holding this balance, base of the ribcage sucking in, and then drop back down again into chair pose. Imagine you have a basketball in your hands, so pull it in. Exhale, push the floor away, come up, pause for a moment, relax your pelvic floor. Drop back down again. Exhale, push the floor away, coming up, drop back down. Don't worry about your pelvic floor, it operates with the breath. Exhaling up, come back down. Exhaling up, breathe out of your mouth like so. That's it. As you push your hands up, we also activate those upper back muscles and our deep transverse abdominal muscles. So this is really an all over body workout. And one more. And release. Make sure you release your pelvic floor. Give your hips a little groove around in a circle. One direction and then the other. I'm going to get you to come against your bit of wall so that we can create wonderful postural alignment through the body. So come onto your little bit of wall space. Take your middle toes and have them facing straight forward. And you want to be hip width apart. So feet not too wide, not together, just hip width apart. About 2 centimeters behind, or not 2 centimeters, 2 inches behind your heels. So a bit of space between your heels and the wall. Soften your knees. I've noticed more and more people are locking their knees and pushing their pelvises forward. So soften the knees slightly. There's a micro bend behind your knees. Especially if you have flat feet and your knees drop inwards, I want you to focus on pushing down and slightly out. So if you were on the beach, you'd have a perfect footprint in the sand. And then stick your bum back into the wall. If we had our tail, the tail would be going straight through the wall, a hole in the wall, and we can imagine somebody on the other side of the wall just kind of pulling the tail back. So through your sacrum, that's pushing into the wall. Lean the top part of your back into the wall, roll one shoulder up, slide it down, other shoulder up, slide it down, palms facing forward, back of the hands and forearms into the wall. Now pull your chin back and see if you can reach the ridge of the back of your head into the wall. And slightly slide the ridge of the head up the wall. Now go down to your feet, push down and slightly out with your feet. Press back with your bum, tail is being pulled back. Press back with your hands and your forearms. Now, between your shoulders, imagine you have a half orange and you need to squeeze that half orange into the wall. So press the area between your shoulders into the wall without letting your pelvis pop off the wall. That's activating here. Rib cage drawing in, deep transverse abdominal muscles activating. Keep pressing the back of the head into the wall. Down and out with your feet, back with your bum, back with your arms, back with your head. Pressing back, breathe underneath your armpits here into your ribs as if you are a fish breathing into your gills. Good, and then slowly come off the wall, roll your shoulders, drop your head, roll your head around. Lovely big massaging action through the head. That's it. And then stack everything back so that you come into Padasana. We want to have our head perfectly positioned on top of our spine. We want to have the ears lined up with shoulders on top of pelvis, knees, and then ankles. And when we're standing in alignment, we should feel all of our corsatory muscles activating very slightly. And if we were to lock our knees, we'd fall backwards. So most of your weight is in your heels. Now, most women, a lot of women, are constantly in the front of their feet, kind of standing like this or like this. And what we want to do is actually put the weight through the heels, soften the knees, and be aligned. Alrighty, last little exercise before we come down. From Tadasana, take all of your weight into your left leg, or right if you're opposite me. Squeeze your thigh bones squeeze your thigh muscles into your thigh bones. So it feels like you're going inwards. Push down through that standing foot. Imagine you've got that orange and you're squeezing the juice out of the orange. You're pressing down. Take your other foot behind you. Activate the glute. So hopefully you can feel your bum muscles slightly switched on. Open up your arms. So these are your crocodile jaws. On an exhalation, go snap. Lift, open, exhale, close. Toe might go down onto the ground here, or if you're used to this exercise, maybe start to see if you can float the toe behind you. It makes the balance a lot harder. Now, as we breathe out, we're activating core muscles, pelvic floor muscles. We are working on stabilizing through that hip joint, through that leg. And because we're focusing on a long exhale while we are stressing the body, we're also training the central nervous system to deal with stresses. So again, this is one of those incredible, lots of things in one exercise. Keep the little muscles around your eyes soft. Keep your eye gaze soft. See if you can do one more. Arms out. Hold, Karate Kid. Stick your foot out for a moment. Drop it. And then give that standing leg a little Elvis release. We love a twist. We love this stuff. It really does work to release built up tension. So give it a little release there and then come into Tadasana again for the other side. So suck thigh muscles into thigh bones. Squeeze the orange. Crown of the head is lifted. Toe behind you. Switch on glute here. Arms opening. Set yourself. This area doesn't move. Exhaling, snap. Inhaling. Exhaling, snap. Try not to lean backwards. Keep feeling that string from the crown of your head, lifting you up, lengthening your spine. Keep squeezing that orange underneath your foot. So you have that wonderful contact with your foot pressing down into the ground. That is activating a chain right up through your body. That's it. See if you can use that long exhale to anchor you. Beautiful. Stopping as soon as you need to. If you've got a couple more into you, let's keep going. Last one. Beautiful. Hold it here. Shoulders relaxed. Kick it out. And then down and give it a release. Very good. And give your whole pelvis a nice release here. Hands just behind your head again. Elbows back. Nice full breaths, recovery breaths. One direction and the other direction. Wonderful. Well done, everybody. So I'm going to come against the wall now. So make sure you've got your prop beside you. If you've got socks or a blanket, grab those. I'm just going to use this wall here. Stick your bum onto the wall. Have your feet a little bit away from the wall. And then walk your sitting bones up the wall until you feel a stretch up your legs. Now, you can either stay in a tabletop position like so, and just relax your shoulders, or if you're able to, fold yourself down so the weight of your head is tractioning your upper back, and hold on to your elbows. So you get that extra bit of weight, just releasing everything. And you're going to find that in a forward fold, your exhalation naturally becomes longer. So focus on your exhale, release your jaw. See if you can hold that pause at the end of the exhalation, but just a little bit longer than normal. You can slide your sitting bones down if it feels more comfortable, just to have your tummy hugging into your thighs. Beautiful. Slide your weight all the way down. Just pause for a moment, back on the wall. Shoulders relaxing. So, if it feels good for you today, we're going to come with our legs up the wall or over the edge of the sofa. And I always like to invite people to put a bit of prop underneath the pelvis to just allow those pelvic organs to drop away from the pelvic floor. So hip against the wall, and then slide your legs up the wall. Maybe just give your spine a little massage up and down a couple of times, like so. Feet wide, drop the knees, getting that little twist into the pelvis. And then either stretching the legs up the wall like so, or taking a prop like a bolster underneath the lower back, underneath the pelvis, so that you feel really comfortable, and then having the legs just up. I quite like to have a blanket draped over my legs when I do this, so get yourself comfy, and then palms up, back of the hands on the ground. Or a nice thing to do if you're in this kind of waterfall action is keep the hands above you or out to the sides. This can be quite strong on the shoulders, so just see if it suits you or not. And then once you're all comfortable, just take 3 transitional breaths, breathing in through the back of the nostrils, and then just sighing the breath out of your mouth so that you can start to settle into this relaxation, restorative Viparita Karani pose. Noticing the lovely weight of your legs just dropping down into your pelvis. It's very settling for the pelvis. And notice the weight of your body also pressing your shoulders into the ground. Just let your shoulders become quite wax-like. Imagine a sort of melted wax, and they're just softening into the ground. Letting the weight of your bones encourage your muscles to release their grip and just soften right from your toes right up to the crown of your head. Feel the whole body softening. Noticing how you can encourage the softening with your exhalations. And just letting your breath now soften as well and become a little bit more silk-like, a bit more refined. And taking your attention just underneath the skin surface of the whole of your body. The whole of your body. See if you can bring about a sense of inner relaxation. Concentrating on this energetic body. Developing an awareness of the body from the very top of your head, right down through your legs and into your toes. Developing that stillness on the outside, even though you're aware of the constant movement, constant buzz, the prana, the life force, just underneath the skin surface. And whilst you keep this global awareness of the whole of your body, just bring your focus for a moment down into your belly and into your pelvis, and sinking with the rise and fall of your belly, just feeling that soft massage with each breath, the lifting, the toning of the pelvic organs. Just feeling that delicious weight of the pelvis melting into the ground. That slight lengthening of the lower back. That massaging, toning effect of the breath. And then start to consciously breathe a little bit more deeply now. And imagine you're spreading the breath from your pelvic area outwards. So each breath becomes a pulse. And as you breathe in, you can feel the spreading energy right from the center out through limbs to fingers and toes, right up into the brain. And then as you exhale, this gentle contraction back in. So take these next couple of breaths to pulse fresh energy, fresh prana around your body. Feeling like you're waking up the body from the inside out. Becoming very aware of all sound around you. So feel like you're opening up your ears. Almost feeling sound coming in through your eardrums and into your brain. Beautiful. Just wriggling fingers and wriggling toes. Slowly sliding your legs down the wall. And then sliding off. Coming over to one side. And when you're ready, just pushing the floor away and be very fluid as you come up to a seated position. So we want to be very aware of the water content of the body. And just notice the fluidity of it, the softness of it. Create a nice tall spine, but let all the muscles that don't need to be activated right now when you're sitting be nice and relaxed. So jaws relaxed, muscles around the eyes are soft and relaxed. Find that sweet spot where the head is perfectly sitting on top of your spine. See if you can notice the slight activation of your core muscles as you sit in this good alignment, lifting up out of your pelvis. Just roll one shoulder and then the other shoulder up and back. Take the fingertips out to the side, turn the palms to face the ceiling. Take a deep breath in and pull that fresh energy up and around your body. Fingertips together, let it all go. And again, deep breath in. Side out. Last one, full, deep, invigorating breath in, lifting up the eyeballs, and then let it go. Fantastic. Take the hands back into that Anjali Mudra, just acknowledging yourself, becoming and practicing and moving into a bit of stillness today. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.